Right guys, just a quick video on scopes, because last time I did a video where I mentioned something about scopes and I said I didn't like the ARCO, the ARCO. Now there's the ARCO, the RCO, the ERCO scopes, and I preferred the ERCO scope because it just had this sort of nicer sort of view that you could see very clearly. So I'll show you what I mean. Right, so yeah, this, you get that nice thin outer ring there, so you can see quite well compared to a RCO. The other thing as well is that it's not zoomed out really far or anything, so you'll see what I mean in a minute. So with this, it's got a very bulky outer bit there, and that's just a bit of a pain in the arse, a bit annoying. But I do prefer this scope because of that lovely crosshair. That crosshair is really nice. In fact, that's perfect. I wish all the sites had that, or at least had the option for that. Problem with the Arco is this. I'll show you what's the problem with the Arco. Look how far away that is. So without zooming in or anything, that red dot, well, that green dot scope, just looks really far away. We're not kind of zoomed in. It's kind of weird. Basically, let's just zoom in. Probably looks the same, but it just looks so far away compared to, if I say use the Urco again. See how much closer that is to my face? It means it gives me a larger sort of sight picture, kind of. I just prefer that rather than it feeling like it's miles away. Now the long range scope on this is a bit weird. Not sure if I like this because the problem is it's not got a crosshair. I'll just go prone. Now I put these vehicles. The first one's about 20 odd meters away. That one's at 44 because 44 seems to be the distance at which you can see bullet holes. So basically, you can see. Should have given you a warning then I was going to start shooting. You can see the previous bullet holes. So that's a pretty spot on accurate scope, but what you'll find is that when I start using the actual red dot scope on this, it's really way off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clear those bullet holes by just putting a load of bullet holes in the front, so just cover your ears if you don't, because I don't know how to mute unless I'm in King of the Hill. So basically, see all those holes have now disappeared progressively. So now I'm going to use this, and what's going to happen, the shot's going to land low. One thing I'd use sometimes is this black slot there. If I then try and shoot to the right of it, see how low that landed? Even though I'm just aiming. So that's me aiming level with that black slot, and they're actually landing low. And the reason for that mainly is because you can see where the red dot sight is in relation to the. It's just higher up. So, oh, you can see it there, look. It's sitting so far on top of that by quite a distance, so that where your barrel is so much lower than that obviously the shots are going to land lower until the trajectory starts dropping off. So you've got to expect that when you're using a red dot on an RCO type scope, that it will land lower than you're expecting. Really anything up to 100 meters, even right out there. If I fire at that now, and I won't need to do it here, but basically if I was to start shooting like that, one way to do it is see if you hit it at all by just, I think it just did hit it. It might, yeah, I think that hit. So, yeah, that hit. So a spark. Oh, that should be spot on accurate there. So there should be a few bullet holes there, but I won't see those bullet holes until we get closer. So I'm about 44 meters out, and then it should be arriving about now. There we go. So yeah, you can see there, look through the scope. What I was doing was firing right at the top, and it was landing pretty much right at the top. So at 100 meters, that's when your red dot will be sort of lined up. It should be, it's kind of ranged out at 200, because if you look at the change it, the number at the bottom goes to 200. But visibly, you really can't see 200 anyway. I mean, you'll see a person running around at 200 meters. It's not nowhere near as bad as something like Squad, where you're literally shooting at pixels, which is not why I'm not a fan of Squad, because you can't zoom in properly. And zooming is realistic because if life looked like that, we'd be little miniature people. It's basically, imagine that the monitor is the window into the world, and so actually that's more realistic field of view. But of course that's too limited to be usable to play a game, so they have to have it zoomed out. I've, by the way, actually got my FOV reduced right down to something like 45 or 40 or something. Normally the minimum's about 70, but I've got it zoomed in just because I've got a tiny monitor. So yeah, so you've got to bear this in mind with any of these type of scopes, that it will land low. So the RCO, put that on. This is still going to land low. I've read online that basically, I'll do it lined up with this actually. Oh, I'm just beyond 44 meters. That's why that isn't visible. Now it is, I think. Yeah, there we go. I just clear those. Right, they're clear. I've got 17 shots in there. Right, so if I line that up, it's a little high, just about there. Yeah, just a little low. Definitely low. In fact, I could line up with the slot, and you'll see it landing just below the slot. Yeah, you can see that kind of triangle now, upside down triangle, where the shots have landed there, there, and there. Whereas if I land like this, yeah. Now I'm noticing that actually this lands a little high, so if I try and put it on the center of a rivet, just, I think that's the center, roughly. There. I think it's landing a little high, which again you would expect due to the ranging and the trajectory being a curve rather than a straight line. Oops, slightly up to the right there. So yeah, it's just landing a little high because I'm putting that pink bit right just as close as I can to the... So that's a little low. You can see, yes, sort of slightly off. Just put it a little low. Yeah, so that's kind of landed on the center, but I did have it, or just low the center, but it's just slightly high. Now I've run a bit, so I'm all over the place. Oops. Trying to hold my breath and still isn't. So you crouch down to help you, or you go prone, or you can even deploy your weapon. And it's very steady. Hold your breath. Yeah, and that's obviously because I'm moving in a bit. So that's the thing. That's a little thing to bear in mind. So the scope that really works very effectively for any close range stuff is the ACO, and the reason for that is because you can see how low it is compared to where your barrel is. And so with this, you can look at something and you can shoot it dead on, and it's really spot on target. So if you want absolute accuracy out to about 100 meters, you really just want to go for this little red dot. Yeah, that's spot on. Really nice. Forget maybe that doesn't look. They're all gone off slightly to the left, but yeah, you can see that. There's one that's pretty much almost center on. So yeah, if you want to be really deadly accurate out to about 100 meters, you just want a little ACO scope. And I find a lot of the time in King of the Hill, you're dealing with enemy at about that range. You know, I can see enemies this far away. You know. Oh, another little tip, by the way, I found out. When you're trying to take out tyres on vehicles like this, I always used to think you had to shoot at the tyre, but actually, you shoot in the centre of the wheel. It doesn't make any sense because in real life you'd be hitting metal. Should take about 4 or 5 shots, I think. So I'm just hitting in the centre there. There we go, it's flat. I think it's 7 shots. So yeah, I always used to think that you had to go and actually shoot the tyre out like this. I used to always shoot around the edges at tyres. There we go. When you could just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's flat. doesn't make any sense at all. Well, certainly not from the vehicles I know. That should just be hitting metal, and it should just glance off and do minimal kind of damage. Certainly not make the tyre go flat, but there you go, a little tip. You can just fire at any part of the wheel and it'll deflate it. Anyway, so that's my little brief note on scopes and how you basically want to use this for most stuff in King of the Hill. One little tip is you can just run around and find a body with an ERCO or an RCO or a ARCO, you know, and then you can slap that on if you fancy playing around with that. And of course, the other thing is with the with not actually having a scope on at all. Now these are actually pretty accurate. I do like these, and I wish that there was kind of a way of just being forced to use these sometimes, to be slightly retro. But of course you can see your sight picture is obscured by all the bits of metal and stuff. Again, I'm a little too far away to see these dots. There we go. So with this, you should put the post, just line the post up underneath. No. It's actually the green dot, so you've got to imagine that what you're shooting at is in the centre. The green dot, and yeah, it's still low. And bear in mind these sights, oh, well, I've got them ranged to 100 meters. What's nice about them is you can range them, look, all the way out to 600. Not that you'd be able to see anything at 600. But bear in mind your iron sights are lined up with the barrel. You know, obviously they're sitting on top. Well, actually they're quite high, actually. You can see that is quite high up, actually. So they're probably as high up as a red dot sight. But yeah, the red dot just gives you a better picture because you can see below your target and everything as well. So there you go, some little quick notes on scopes.